Bon Jovi.
Hello! Welcome, all of my unsung heroes. How are you? My name is Cynthia.
Oh, my name's Chris.
Hey, Chris. How you doing?
Oh, I'm all right. It's been a week, a bit tired, but wonderful. And then you've just got back from holiday. So do we ask how you are?
And I'm all tanned and I'm feeling very good about myself. Yes, I had a very good 10 days in Martinique. I actually wanted to do the show over there, but then just the timing didn't work out. But yes, I know you hate me, but you can be happy for me. I had a wonderful vacation. And I did share the beach with you guys and all of the TEA people at Eurovision.
Yeah, right in the middle of all of my stress, I have to watch Cynthia having the time of her life. How wonderful that was. I'm glad you got away. I'm glad you had a nice holiday.
What?
I said, I'm glad you got away, and I'm glad you had a nice holiday.
I did. Thank you very much. It was very resourceful, and I did not. I didn't even drink a lot of rum. It was.
Why did you
strange. Go? Martinique in the Caribbean.
Yeah, so why did you go if you weren't going to drink rum?
Well, because I wanted to wake up early to visit the island, and you can't wake up early when you've gotten wasted the night before. I'm not 20 years old anymore, Chris. I'm 50 almost. Give me a break.
Grin and bear it. You'll be fine.
Yes.
You've managed IAPA.
Sorry?
You've managed IAPA plenty of times.
Well.
And there's always the drinking the night before and then marching the aisles the day after. This is true, Becca. This is true.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to Unsung Heroes. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, slightly press and fondle to follow all of the TETV shows, to get updates on which show is coming up, etc., etc., etc. We love it when you slightly fondle that button. So, Chris, my dear.
Yeah.
Tell me, what are your shower thoughts?
I've got quite a few this week.
Oh, yeah. Go for it.
Shall I? I'll get rid of the slightly naughty ones up front. They're not naughty, but right.
Do those work up to it. Work up to the naughtiness.
Yeah, but then there's ones that we need to get our wonderful guest in on the questions to the world. So I'll just do my statement ones first. So Deadpool, Deadpool the character.
Yes.
He probably isn't circumcised because he has a regeneration ability. Just a thought. And of unfortunate business typos, you could be like, oh, you can find me on LinkedIn, but you can mistype that really easily. And you're like, oh, go find my KinkedIn. And I thought that would be weird. And then this one I saw on the interwebs and I loved it. So if Rick Astley is never going to give you up, but you want him to give you up, then he's letting you down by not giving you up. And I thought that was cool.
Chris, you should do a one-man show.
No. Kelly, behave. So, and then my questions are, I've got two of them. One's gross and the other one's not. Non-gross one first. If you lock a locker, doesn't that make you the locker? Because you locked it. No? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And then this one is slightly gross. So if you aren't supposed to pick your nose, then why is your index finger exactly the same size as your nostril?
It's not.
It is.
Mine is My finger is much bigger than my nostril.
Oh, well, maybe that's just an observation that's for me.
Well, you caught me off guard on that one.
Yeah. Kelly says give your nostrils some flair. Flare them, and then you can. That's just pulling your face down.
Okay.
I don't even know you can see it. Can you do that?
No, don't do that. Yes, I can do that.
Right. should we introduce our guest and find out
I can't believe
he
that,
can do it too?
Chris, the things that I do with you on live YouTube television that will remain in forever for my children and grandchildren to watch, which really sometimes scares me, honestly.
We could ask producer Kelly what happened the first time that she met us.
No, we don't want to ask producer Kelly what happened the first time. We'll just say I had TEA earrings on. That's all. And I greeted you with great generosity and comfort.
Gusto.
All right. Our guest. We are 7 minutes into the show. We are going to be serious now.
Are we?
Our guest, Jenna. She is really cool because she's part creative, part techie. She's the bridge between the two, and I love it. I'm really excited to get to know her. But first, we have a video where she introduces herself. Shall we watch it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? You want to?
I want to.
Okay.
Yeah,
Kelly, Kelly, throw the video on.
If it were.
My name is Jenna. I'm technical design coordinator at Universal Studios Japan.
When I was young, I loved going to live theaters and theme parks. Live theaters always amazed me how a small stage can be the dark jazz alley in Chicago and the haunted opera house. Sceneries especially made me wonder how theater magic works. This curiosity led me to become a technical director in theater. I loved working with designers and make their creative vision into something tangible. One day, I was strolling in a theme park and realized that theme parks are basically giant theaters. In the past few years, I made my transition into theme parks and have worked on seasonal events in the US and Japan. I work with designers and the tech team to find a sweet spot where the dream and reality meet. I wish that my contribution can make guests' eyes spark, as theaters and theme parks did to me many years ago.
That was a very cool video.
Thank you. Oh, like it was exciting and like a little embarrassed like at the same time to watch my video, like and sharing with everyone like that I don't know, like in this online world.
You'll see when you watch the show back, when you'll be like when it's not live anymore and you'll want to watch yourself and hear yourself, you'll probably go through audible hell hearing your own voice, because it's horrible. It's like one of the hardest things to actually do, to listen to yourself, because you don't hear your voice the way other people hear it, and you think you sound okay hearing it the way you hear yourself, and then you sound like an idiot when you're listening to yourself. Oh, Chris, you sound like an idiot. You do.
I am an idiot, though. That's different. I just accept it. And that is a previous shower thought. That's the highest level of self-acceptance, is liking the sound of your own voice. as other people hear it, I think, because I hate it. I've never watched an Unsung Heroes back.
It's hard. It's as a singer, or I mean, even as a voiceover artist, hearing my voice is just okay. All right, yeah, that's good. That's good. No more. And I have a client that when their doors open, they have this museum thing called the Lighthouse, and the doors open and it says, "Welcome to," I'm not going to say the company's name, "Welcome to XX Lighthouse." Every time you open the door and walk in, my boobies, my knockers. Stop it. That was an old show. It's my battle cry. Yes, it is my battle cry. Anyway, and so you walk in and you're hearing your voice. It's horrible. Anyway, Jenna, welcome to Unsung Heroes.
Thank you for having me. I'm Jenna. Nice to meet y'all.
Jenna, how do you pronounce your last name? Because we forgot to ask you that.
Oh, I go by Heo. So there's actually a little story about it, if you don't mind like me telling about it.
Of course.
So it's Heo. So like when I introduce myself in English, I always say Jenna Heo. But like my native language, like in my native language, which is like Korean, it is Ha. But when I explain that to non-Korean speakers, like they don't really understand why EO becomes like more of a sound, or so like they say like Heo, Heo, Ho, and at some point like they call me Miss Ho in English, which I really didn't enjoy. So I know Heo is not the original way of saying it, but I just introduced myself here, like that way I don't get called as like Miss.
And if someone can say Ho,
yeah,
do you prefer to be called Jenna Ho?
Preference-wise, actually, at this point, I don't mind much, even if I'm called Heo, like because that's been like my name for the past decade. So. But yeah, like if people like put an effort and try to pronounce it right, like I appreciate it for sure.
All right. When I came to France, my name is Cynthia and I live in France, and my mother and my father are both French, and they gave me a name that French people can't pronounce correctly because they don't say the TH. You know, in France, in French, the TH doesn't exist. And so Cynthia is not Cynthia in French, it's Cynthia with a T, Cynthia. And so it's a different name, Cynthia and Cynthia. And when I came to France, I was like, they're not calling my name. But then I got used to it. I accepted it. It's true, you get used to the way people call your name. But then there's Italians that called me Cinzia. And then I melt.
Oh, that sounds romantic somehow.
Yeah. Well, hello there.
Why did you just make a Yoda noise?
All right, Jenna, tell us more of what you do than what you said in the video.
So I really love the word that you chose earlier, Cynthia, like introducing me like that. I'm a bridge between technical side and creative side. So it's like I always consider myself like I can go either way, or I don't belong either way. That like I'm a technical, like most technical person in creative team, or I can be like the most creative person like in the technical team. So my goal is to say like designer had like a pretty drawing of like a flying car with like a fire, shooting from like a magic wand or something. But like that is like really beautiful, like in the page, like in a paper. But like, how are you gonna do it? Like, do we really want to build like a 3D, like our actual car flying, or can it be like a 2D panel that looks like it is flying on the background? So like I try, like I understand the creative intent and the reality, like the resource that we have of time like money, like a budget, and try to put something where the reality and dream meet. So like finding the sweet spot where we can achieve both. So like that's like what I do. Like and I use.
I was just going to say there have been several SATE conferences on how to bridge the gap between the creative craziness and the technical reality.
So yeah, like I think both are really important because like without creative, vision, it's not gonna be cool. But like without thinking about the reality, the money will be just out of hand, or like we won't be able to make the project on time. So gotta really balance both. And like I really appreciate like a hard work of like both teams.
See, I come from the techie side of that thought, and sometimes like I feel like I'm really good as a creative engineer when I get what the designer is after. But then if we haven't met the designer, or I don't know how they think, and it's not coming across in the page very well, because obviously I'm just looking at CAD drawings of what I'm supposed to put in, and it's like, well, can we make this a little bit better? So when we're working at DGW, when we're working with the kind of, we try to work closer with certain types of creative that are open to interpretation and open to other ideas and understanding. So like, okay, well we've got this, but we can do it slightly differently to get closer to what you're actually trying to get. And someone somewhere has specified this equipment because that's their interpretation. Can we just throw all that in the bin and use the same budget and get closer to what you wanted? And sometimes that works, and we like working with those people. And sometimes we just get sort of, no, your engineers, get out. You don't understand the creative process. You can't understand the phantasmical magic in my mind. And it's like, well, this is just going to be a letdown then. Here we go. And then we have to go through an entire install feeling a little bit sad about it because it could be better.
Totally. So yeah, like I really appreciate like the creative team, like when they involve like the technical side early on, like and talk about like what can be done actually, like not about like crushing someone's dream, but like what can be achieved and like it become like a real thing, like by maximizing both, meeting the creative intent and like the technical side, like with all the reality issues. So yeah, I hear you.
What are the milestones in your career did you have to go through to get to where you are today? Like what are your main milestones?
So I'm currently a technical design coordinator at Universal Studios Japan, and only a couple years ago, I didn't think that I will be in Japan. I went to school and like was working in the States for over 10 years. So I don't think there was like a set path that I chose to walk. I just happened to get here. So like I started in the theater as a technical director. No, actually it even goes like a further back. Like I started as a scenic designer, and like that was my undergrad degree in. So I was a audience, like a cast, like who just really liked theater, like live theater and theme park. Didn't really think that it's a real job. Like that
so many didn't think that. Yeah.
I mean, when I look back, like duh, like to build like a whole theme park, it just doesn't grow out of the ground like by itself. Of course, like there must be like hundreds, like thousands of people involved, like working on it. But it just didn't click in my head until quite recent, like especially for theme park. So I started in theater, like just loving the scenery of theater, especially. So like in my undergrad, like scenic design was like the only scenic related major. So I started there, but since it was like such a small drama school, like scenic designer of the student show had to do like a lot of things. Like you were not just giving the design, but you can be going to Home Depot, like the hardware store, and buy the lumber yourself, or you might be even cutting it like on Friday late night, you know, after all the homework is done. So I really enjoy like doing everything and anything about scenery. In my senior year in college, I got a like really great opportunity to work as a scenic designer for the like a grad student level of a show. And for scenic designer, like for grad school level, like a scenic designer, you get the shop. So like they are actually building the set for you. And then I didn't like it. I didn't realize until that point that like what I liked about scenery. Like I thought like I love scenery, so I must love to do design and build and planning. But when, I got to separate that and only do the design, like I felt like I was missing something. So that's when I realized, all right, I admire like people who design really well, but I don't think I have talent for that, or I don't think I want to do that for a living. So like I still do love scenery, but let's figure out what I want to do for a longer term. So I went to grad school like for the technical design specifically, like in theater. Yeah.
And I mean, in your video, you talked about how when you walked into a park and you realized that theme parks are just giant theaters. And yeah, it's so true. Tell us a little bit about that.
So that specific moment was at Disneyland or Disney California Adventure. So in LA, and there's like street called, I think, Hollywood Boulevard. And at the end of the street, there is a theater, like live theater, where it plays the like Let It Go, the Frozen, or like the 20-30 minutes version of musical in the park. And at the end of the street, there's like literally a backdrop of a sky, scene with the fake 2D panels of building. So, it's playing with like if the guests are standing in front of the backdrop. Oh, Street of America, is that like, or what it is called? When you're standing like at that point and take picture, in your picture, it looks like you're in Broadway or like in whatever the backdrop, and just literally seeing the backdrop at the theme park. That's like when it actually clicked, like, oh, everything is within sight line. Just the only difference is your audience will be walking on your stage, like instead of just sitting on a chair.
That's an interesting way of describing it. I like it.
It is, yeah. I mean, we are walking. We're walking in the middle of the stage. We are the stage. We are the scene. We're totally participating. I mean, that's like immersive theater, high level immersive theater.
Mm-hmm. Right.
With or without technology.
Mm-hmm. So with that, I mean, there are still difference, even though I call like theme park a giant theater, when you think about like the traditional theater where guests like can't access the stage itself, we got like in theme park, you got to think about safety compliance, because like people will touch everything. So there's like those guests are untrained, unlike actors who are told to do a certain thing with those like the certain props. So there are like, of course, like those differences, but the main like big idea wise, while I was like sprawling in a theme park like there, I realized, yeah, everything in the theme park are placed there like thinking the guest point of view. So everything is placed there to be seen. Like nothing is there just by accident. So like that, I thought that is really similar to how scenic designers and tech people work in theater.
So when you're working on these projects and in these places, what's the most sort of challenging environment that you've had to endure or work in?
The most challenging. I mean, there have been some challenges for sure, like any project that you work on. But yeah, like as I briefly mentioned, like safety compliance is quite different, like for tech person, like in theme park. So yes, for example, like I worked on Halloween Horror Nights for the past few years in Universal Studios Hollywood, and you are building haunted houses, like mazes, where literally guests will walk through your set. That is like made to be that way. And since there are bunch of untrained anybody like walking through your scenic, like everything had to be engineered, like actually stamped by engineer and get an approval. Yes, you can open this event. And there were a lot of people working on the project because like the scale wise, it was much bigger than any theater project that I worked before. So with that, like yeah, like there were a few more steps that you have to go through for the safety reason, and there are a lot of people, which means like it takes forever to get an approval for like your project. So even though as like scale got bigger for theme park projects that I worked on than like theater projects, and like scale I mean by like it was more money and it was like a longer period of time like to work at to finish the project as well, but it always just felt never enough.
The world of a technical person in this industry.
Yeah, right. So like when I think about like theater projects that I worked before, you know, I did like a whole scenic design like that runs for 2 months, like under like 10K, let's say. And like now in theme park, I have 10 times more of a budget and like 5 times like longer period to work on. It's still just never enough because as the scale gets bigger, there were more steps like added to it and like more people, you know, added to that project as well. So like
So let's talk about
side. Sorry, I'm just going down the road of project bureaucracy where there's too many people in the wrong places. I'm sure you can't actually speak to that, Jenna, because you work for Universal Studios, who are massive. But like, I find on the projects that we work on, the more people between the installation teams, whether that be from the creative side, the technical side, or the people in between, the content people, whatever, the more steps in between us and the client and the designers, the original designers, the worse it's a job of Chinese whispers and gets very, very misconstrued and very difficult to communicate. And you just need to cut out all the bureaucracy and have direct lines of communication, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So you worked on theater. Tell us about some of the biggest theater productions, or your pride and joy in theater productions that you've done.
The biggest production that I worked on is a play called Big Night at the Center Theater Group, or Kirk Douglas Theater of Center Theater Group in LA. That was the biggest, budget wise or the size of theater wise. I was the assistant technical director role for that project. And yeah, so actually there's in the picture where it can show how one's image, one's scenic designer's image, could become a product. And that was a proudest moment. So that is John Lee Beatty, the scenic designer John Lee Beatty is his rendering for the hero shot. And the picture like that was like on earlier, that is like a finished product, like of the press coal. And I'm quite proud that someone's drawing, someone's like a beautiful painting became something tangible. Like it became, we, like me and my team actually brought that into a reality. So like we were working and like everything in that furniture, well, maybe except the couches, but like door and like the rug were custom made like to be seen that way, because it is on, no, it is not shot on in actual hotel, like a penthouse hotel. Like, you know, the stage is built to be seen like that hotel. And so like it was like quite a bit of fun to work on every little part of that whole scene, like with me and my team.
That's always amazed me when I go to see plays. I'm always curious to know what was specifically designed for the play and what was bought.
Mm.
You know, it always makes me, you know, yeah, I always wonder. I'm like, oh, so that the table that is right next to next to the couch, like in the middle of the shot with the round, was that something that you guys built, that you designed and built?
So this furniture, if I remember correctly, mostly like most of them were bought. Like we had a prop manager, like who, so like Scenic Designer, like will draw like how he images like of how like each furniture would look like in his rendering, and the prop team will find like closest thing, like I mean off the shelf item to match that image, or because it will rarely happen that you find the exact like furniture from the drawing, unless like designer had like a specific item in mind. So the tech side people like will try to understand like what the designer is wanting to present, and find the closest like off the shelf item, or if that piece of furniture is really important, like it really have to be exact like that, like by the designer, then we'll build. But like here, the furniture we see, so like a couch and tables and whatnot, were all bought. But the door, that's like almost like a 2 meter or more, like the big door, like on the left side of the image, that was custom built. So like we built the frame and then whatchamacallit, like embossed it, like, you know, do the 3D, like a syncing of like a button holes, like all that to make it look like fancy hotel room.
Yeah. That's really, I always found that really interesting in plays. So what other like major projects have you worked on?
So something I really enjoyed about theater is that usually it tends to be smaller community, or like tends to be like a smaller in the scale of a project. So one person get to wear a lot of hats, like a lot of different hats. You know, depends on the show budget and timeline. The technical director may only manage the schedule, you know, like be the administrator person, or depends on, you know, like the situation, you might be actually building the frame in the wooden shop. So for the big night, I was assistant technical manager, like a technical director role. So I was mostly drafting the fabrication drawing and like working with carpenters. So I didn't actually build anything, but, you know, touched everything that for the show to get it built. While for some smaller shows, like a school projects that I worked before, like I was on the shop floor actually getting covered in sawdust, you know, and like, you know, glue, like covered in wood glues, building things. So that's something like I really enjoy like in theater, which I am missing like after I moved to theme park. It like with like as Chris said earlier, with all that steps and like people involved, I
I'm
rarely
sure
get to
you're
touch.
allowed to, though, aren't you? Aren't you allowed to just go and get your hands dirty and get involved in something? Or is there like loads of red tape? You haven't been trained to use a saw properly, so you can't go and use a saw. You might cut off your hand, and then I've got the back of my hand from this week is shredded.
So I mean, I know you're kind of joking, but that's actually somewhat true.
Yeah, no, I know.
So in Universal Studios Hollywood, like in LA, I was not supposed to even pick up a nail. That's like a kind of joke that we talked about, because all the sets are built by union crews. So with that union law, non-union people are not allowed to touch or do any like hands-on thing. So yeah, like even so, say like I see a nail underground, and like that might be a potential hazard, like someone might get punctured by it. So I want to pick it up. The joke is that I have to talk to the gang boss, like the union like head person. So he tells one of his crews to pick it up. I'm not supposed to pick it up.
See, I'm a big fan of breaking rules, and we worked on a project in Canada, and the head of the site was the building manager, because they were still in construction phase. But we started needing to get our first fix inside of that construction phase, so we had to go and sit through the hour-long VHS tape of how to be safe on site in this construction site, and what was allowed and what wasn't allowed, and what you could and couldn't. And it was endless. It was very, very frustrating. And I kept clashing with the same guy. And like, I'm 6'7", so when I walk through a doorway wearing a hard hat, I'm almost 7 feet tall, and I bang my head very hard, and it's very bad for my neck. So I kept taking my hat off, like when I was in the building. So whilst wearing like 2-inch steel toe caps as well, I kept taking my hat off, and he just scream and bawl at me all the time. I'm like, look, either I'm going to end up with a spinal injury on this site, or I'm going to take off my hat every so often. Like when I'm outside or working under people that I know are up in the gantry, I'll wear my hard hat. But when I'm in a concrete box that is the projection room and equipment room, I don't need to be wearing my hard hat, especially when I'm going through computers, reseating RAM and graphics cards because they've got moved in transit from the UK to Canada, and they've all shaken loose. I've got to reseat them all or glue them down or whatever. And I don't need. And I remember turning around to him one day and going, "I just don't need your shit. I don't need it. Go away." And it was like the worst thing I could have possibly done, because he was gunning for me after that point. It was like, if I was out having a cigarette, if I wasn't in the designated zone, which didn't have an ashtray, which annoyed me, then he'd scream at me and he'd be like, you get off my site, you're gone, you're never coming back again. And then he would get a memo saying, actually, no, we need that guy here. So I think he felt a little bit sort of emasculated by it. So he was even more angry, and it just didn't get why Brits were there in the first place or what we were doing. And at the end of that project, the show team, as we called ourselves, which was the lighting team, the sound team, the AV team, then we had a load of moving parts on stage. We had a rigging team as well. And all of us came together to create the actual show inside the carcass of the building that these guys had built. So they invited some genius person that was in charge, invited all of the construction team and their families and everyone that was part of the show teams back in at the end to come and see what they'd built. And they all came up to us afterwards, after giving us so much shit for months. I just went, this is amazing. This is absolutely fantastic. I'm like, I'm so glad for that. It was one of the most sort of not liberating, fantastical moments of my career, going through after taking so much crap from the guys, and they all just swallowed their pride and just went, no, actually, that was a really good job. You guys have done excellent, and this is so cool. That was in 2011, and it's still my favorite project that I've ever worked on. Sad times.
What's your favorite project, Jenna?
Like theater, a theme park?
Either end.
Project. It could be like a spaghetti drawing that you did when you were like 6. Who knows?
Oh, so like the spaceship that I built with my pasta noodles, like was no.
I was gonna say I want to see that. Where is that? I want to see the noodle spot. The noodle
hold
spaceship.
on.
Can you imagine?
Seriously?
No. Well, no, not the pasta spaceship. But like for actual craft work wise, there is a locker door I kept with me, or I brought with me everywhere I go in the world. It's like locker door that I had to build for a final as like a final exam, like final project for my first year in grad school for the shop class. And I thought, I mean, I'm a big Pixar fan. Like one of my favorite movies is Monsters Inc. So I thought, all right, I don't really want to do this project because it's taking a lot of time. Huh?
Who's your favorite character in Monsters Inc?
George.
For me, it's Roz. I love Roz.
Chris, I was going to say her.
What's that, Cynthia?
I was going to say Roz.
Roz is Mike Wazowski.
Where's the paperwork? You haven't done the paperwork yet. It's really annoying.
I love it.
Anyway, sorry.
You can't do that very long because, you just like...
It's like doing impressions of Gollum from Lord of the Rings. You can only do it for a couple of seconds.
Exactly.
Or I was thinking like Batman from Dark Knight.
Yeah,
I'm Batman.
Yeah,
I can't.
They're just like
I can't get the growl out. Get your growl out, Cynthia.
So is that little is the locker box far away? Can you go grab it to show it to us?
No, it's like right around the corner. All right, like I can get it. Just a sec.
Go for it. Yay! Chris and I will keep busy. Chris,
yeah,
I want to see her pasta thing. I don't know if it's a pasta thing, but I want to see the thing.
Shall I get my things that hung up on the door?
Yes, go get your things.
No, you didn't. You didn't get what I meant.
Yeah, go get your things.
No. That's not a good. Is that a good idea?
Oh my gosh!
What is this now?
So you made that?
Yeah, like I had to build everything like from scratch for that shop class.
Wow.
So, yeah, we were learning like how to use actual like a chop saw, tools to do like wooden like carpentry. So that was my like project, and also like my locker for 3 years of my time in grad school. And what I like about it is, so all the like I feel getting a little nerdy about it, but like the shop tools are a lot of times like meant to cut things square. But since I was going for the door from Monsters Inc., I made everything like 1 to 2 degree off on purpose. And making things go off like with the tools like that are meant to cut it straight was more challenge. And like I was happy that it was functioning locker in the end.
But it's really thin.
Oh, so that is just the door. So it was like a tool locker, but since I was leaving, like and moving from state to state, and then now like in Japan, like, you know, traveling the world, I only took the door out. And like he traveled with me from New Haven to Cali and now Osaka, Japan.
I have my bats because I'm fascinated by a lathe, and I like straight tools making curved objects. I find really cool. So I've got my mini bat.
Look at that! Just tiny bat.
And then I've got the slightly larger one.
You have a lathe in your house?
No, I did. These are things that I made when I was at school because I was fascinated. And then I've got big bat, which I have to legally in the UK keep a ball near because then it's a bat and ball, not an offensive weapon.
Oh.
But this is about 3 times heavier than an American baseball bat because it's so chonky. I've used it once in a softball game when I was at school, and I was asked never to use it again because the weight you can put behind it, like if I let it go, it'd kill someone. But it was a hit. So now it used to be somewhere near the bed and under the bed. Now it lives in the office where it's away from it. Cinnamon Wind does not play games when it comes to playing games.
No, he definitely doesn't.
Monopoly, Kelly, bring it. I will eat you.
You are like one of the most, the funnest, but very competitive guys that I know. It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
I would say the most competitive.
Yeah.
Even competitive about his own title.
Exactly. Yeah. Even that.
Hashtag winning. Not even ashamed of it.
Yeah. You shouldn't be ashamed of wanting to win.
Oh, I get really angry when I see someone else that's taller than me. It bothers me. Like, how dare you? I'm the tallest guy in the room.
But you're taller. Are you taller than your dad?
Yeah, by an inch. Which now he's got the floofy grey hair. He's wisps it up a little bit, so it makes him look a bit taller. And as you know, I tend to slouch and sort of relax into a very bad posture. But then when Dad's around, he's like, "Oh, you always walk past me and you go like that." Which is exactly what I do. I just want to walk past and just double check, like, yep, he's shrinking. I'm still tall. I'm the tallest. When we went to Universal Studios, Cynthia, and we were queuing for the Harry Potter ride in Gringotts, and there was one of the TEA guys right in front of us that's like taller than me, and I was like, I am offended. But then he couldn't go on the ride because he was too tall, and I could.
He was too tall?
There's like a height limit for being tall?
Yeah, there is. There's loads of rides where you can't go on if you're over 2 meters tall. And I'm technically 2 meters 3, but I slouch a little bit. Like through most of the parks in the Emirates, there's even there's gantries that you're not supposed to notice, but you clip your head on if you're tall. And they watch for people clipping their head on them, and then they tell them they can't go on the ride. So when I went to Ferrari World in Abu Dhabi, we got to the park, and the lady selling us the tickets said, "Can we measure how tall you are? Because you can't go if you're as tall as I think you are. You can't go on like 8 of our 10 rides."
Oh.
And I was like, "Oh, okay." So they got the measuring stick out, and then she let me have a child's ticket because I wasn't going to be able to ride any of the rides in the park. But then they don't monitor you once you're in it. So I just went into the queues and just leant on the rails, the queuing rails all the way around to make me look shorter than the person that I was with. And the funny thing was, God rest him, he was a large gentleman. And getting him into the coasters took 2 Indian guys jumping and stamping from the like roller coaster train or from the thing above it, and stamping the lap belt down onto him so he could go on the ride. So they're all focused on him, and then like tall old me that shouldn't be going on the ride is sat there like, bring it. But then it's the shoulder braces for me. I have to go, everyone else brings them down, so they go flat and then down, and I have to bring them up to my shoulders and then just click them there and hold on for dear life, because if I do that, then it crushes me and I can't breathe. So I do that and hold it, and it's like there's literally, I could have a child, like a 5-6-year-old child in between me and the actual edge of the restraint thing easily with no problem because of how I have the harnesses, but it's cool.
Yeah. The rides are not made for women with generous chests.
Boobies, knockers.
Boobies, knockers, hoo-haws. No, that's something else. Oops.
Rides are not made for hoo-haws. Oh, Sarah or Kelly, just note that down, the timestamp on that.
Oh my God, I can't believe I did that.
They're actually not built. Yeah, it is a dance break. They're not built for testicles, actually, because you get that bit that comes up in between your legs, and if it breaks suddenly and you slide forwards, it's ouch shitty.
Ow. Like just
there needs to be like a special, I don't know, like a special nut pantry in the back of that bit so that you don't kill yourself.
Here we go. We are an hour in.
And it's descended into chaos. Right, let's bring it back on. I've got a question.
Yes.
I'm gonna use the
Wait. Kelly had a question for Jenna. Jenna, are you competitive in anything?
I try not to be, because like I can be like a sore loser. So like I don't like to be competitive. Like I try to keep keep a little distance so I don't really get sad or angry like when I
Sounds
lose.
like you're hyper competitive.
Can be, but I try to avoid the situation.
So you don't play games at all?
I do. No. I do play games, but like I usually am happy at second place. I don't have to be first place, but I still would enjoy, being good enough or like a higher rank enough than like some other people.
Do you know what second place is? First to come last. You are the first loser if you come in second.
Why you horrible?
You might as well win at coming last and come dead last and properly go for that wooden spoon and make a thing of it. Salty now.
You are salty today.
I'll just call it second place, even if it is like there are only 2 players. I like to just call it second place.
All right. What was the question that you had, Chris?
Oh, I was back on. I was trying to get sort of back on script.
Just like it went out the window a while ago.
One of our actual questions. Kelly, we'll just pass on David's comment there.
Jenna is a gift, and she should be protected at all costs. I agree.
It's fine. She can come in second. I'll just win. That's absolutely fine with me. So, yeah, I said we'll pass on that. So, like Jenna, like work in your career, like lessons that you've learned. What have been the toughest and hardest sort of lessons that you've had to experience? What taught you the lesson, and then what was the lesson?
I see a potential tough lesson, but like which I always try to be aware of that and try to avoid like making those mistakes. Is that it's such a small community here, even if like all the theme park or themed entertainment projects are all over the world, I've like ran across like many people that I worked with, like, you know, mutual friends of people that I worked with, like in the States, in Korea, or like someone, you know, like knows someone. So like I just try to be really aware of the fact that it's like small world, and you know, try not to burn bridge. So I haven't had like a tough lesson yet. Yeah, it is like a really small world. And like since I made my transition from theater to theme park, which I thought was quite not related, but actually like the other day I talked to my friend like that I knew from the theater field in like New Haven, Connecticut, and like LA. She was working in Beijing, and like my one of my coworkers like, from Japan project and who moved to Beijing, they were working together. So
I mean, yeah, it is it is definitely a small world, especially the theme park world, and there are so many bridges to the theater. I mean, so many people in the theme park world have come from theater. So many. When I entered the theme park industry, I didn't at all go through the theater, and I was amazed at how many people started out as a technical director in theater or a set designer, and just crossed over, or film. It's true. Kelly, our producer, also says film. It's true. We're really connected industries, and even the film industry is kind of a small industry when you think about it. But anyway.
But
What
we also have in that department, though, I mean, it's always the actors and the directors and the designers that get all the shout outs, but there's such a massive team that goes into it. Like one of my friends is doing like what is stage management, and like I don't even know what that is, but I know that there's an army of people, and she is one of them. That work on these projects and never get a dicky bird. We certainly don't in AV when we're doing an install. There's never a thanks to us, and it's like, well, we know we've done our job right if no one notices it, but everyone notices it when it's not working. So we only ever get shouted at, and it's like, well, hang on. Microsoft, when Windows has a problem, everyone's just like, oh, it's fine, just turn it off, turn it on again. But with our stuff, it's like, no, it needs to be perfect all the time, which is impossible. Unless you're Universal Studios or Disney or Merlin that can have techs on hand all day, every day, making sure stuff works. It's madness. Madness. Sorry, Cynthia, I'm tangenting again.
It's okay. It's okay. That's your battle cry.
Ooh.
I mean, it's why we wanted to do this show. Because there are so many people in this industry that don't get the recognition. You know, we'll tell you know what we were talking about earlier in the show, early in the pre-show. You know that there are big designer names. I mean, there are some big names out there that everyone in this industry knows, but there's just so many others out there, and there's so many. There are so many people that work on these projects, and it's just amazing. It's amazing. So if you could go back in time and tell your younger self something, what would it be?
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do
She's a
it.
Nike girl, or Nike, as some people like to
You know,
say.
really, it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there were many things that I thought, oh no, I have to focus on study to get a better GPA, you know, the extracurricular activities like waste of time, or doing like learning guitar is like a waste of time, like there are just like a lot of things that I thought it is not necessary, or it is not important like to make my life better. But like actually things that I learned or did in the past becomes like helpful at some point in my life. So just like to give like an example that actually worked out like really good for me is like the language. So I studied like Japanese when I was I don't know, 10, 11, just like so as a Korean, like you often do like English as like your second language. But since my brother was good at like English, I again didn't want to really compete with him. So I picked a different language, which was Japanese. So I just like, studied Japanese like for fun, even though in Korea, you don't really speak Japanese. In America, even after I moved, you don't really speak Japanese. But somehow with like many years later, I'm here in Japan now. And, sure, like Universal Studios is like American company, even like in Japan, that we have translation team, but it's really helpful. It's been really helpful that I can speak Japanese, just like living here, like a day-to-day life-wise, or even like a communicating with the team. Because like for a small, like a casual, quick decisions, I don't have to bring the translation team. I can just talk directly to the Japanese like team members, and we'll meet somewhere in the middle. Like my Japanese is not perfect, their English may not be perfect, but at least we know that we're trying to meet in the middle, like to communicate. So just like showing that's been like really helpful. So like Japanese is kind of good example that is like now useful, but there are a lot of things that I didn't do because like I thought, oh, it is not really helpful for my math grade, which I wish like I did more of those things.
So how many languages do we speak between the three of us? And by that I mean how many languages do we speak between you two? Because I speak one as a typical Brit.
I speak French, English, a little bit of German, and a little bit of Spanish.
Awesome. Multilingual, like.
Says Jenna. So you're fluent, obviously, English, Korean, and Japanese.
Trilingual is not multi, like, because like I think multi like that can use, like there's no 4 language speaking person.
That's no
right?
Quadrilingual.
Right. So.
Trilingual.
So are you only trilingual?
Only trilingual. I only speak 3 languages. Not much.
So what happens if you speak 6 languages? Does that make you like sexy lingual?
Hexalingual, is it?
Hexalingual.
Hexalingual. Ruin my joke with your.
No, it's multilingual. It's simply multilingual.
I studied at school, very loose term, French and German, and my German gets as far as my hamster's dead or the car is broken or the projector's broken, which I learned when we were working at the Nürburgring. As a very frantic person that worked there came running at me, recognizing me as a person that built. I mean, I wasn't part of the build team. I was just part of the show control right at the end. I did 2 weeks there. It's like, das Biermeit's kaputt. I'm like, I don't know what that means, but I'm guessing, I know kaput means broken, and I'm guessing Beamer's going to be a projector, and like projector, broken, okay, I can figure out where we're going. And I'm like, but where? And he's just like, he looked at me like I'd said, I don't care. And I'm like, no, like, where? I don't know what the word is in German. Where? Like, someone that speaks German, come and translate here. And I'm like, Chris, I know how to ask where the apothecary is, or like the stupid stuff you learn in school. Nothing useful. nothing conversational or helpful. I don't know how to introduce myself in German, and I made the mistake of saying bonjour, but not in an English way. I got in a cab in Paris and actually tried to speak a bit of French, and the guy just went at me, and I was like, and I'm done. That's me ending ever trying French ever again.
That's because the French, they love it when someone comes and at least says bonjour, and they appreciate it so much that you know, they think, cool, someone.
Yeah. And I'm like, what? I heard something about your dog at the end, but that's all I got. And now I don't know how to ask the questions or formulate them. So I'll just give up. Cheers. What I should have done is learn like Mandarin or something useful for my future. Arabic. I would quite like to be able to speak Arabic because that is an aggressive language.
Like, do you know anything? Like, say something?
I mean, assalamu alaikum. That's as far about as I go. Shukran. Habibi. Like, Habibi is my friend, and that's a very like close term. Shukran is thank you. And then you've got if someone says assalamu alaikum, which is something along the lines of peace be with you. Oh. And you can say alaikum with alaikum salam, which is and with you. So that gets you a long way as a white European in the depths of Saudi Arabia, where they're like, "Why are you here?" But then you use, as opposed to saying hello, you use their cultural greeting, which they appreciate. But then they know you're English because obviously you can't pronounce it right. So. Or they know you're Western and assume you speak English, so then they switch to English. And they'll still
when anyone travels to any country, the bare minimum is to at least know how to say hello, thank you, and please.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I hate visiting a country and not being able. So whilst I was in Mexico, I was trying to learn Spanish. To try a bit, which I'd never done at school. I didn't know how to do it. And it's one of those languages that defeats me. I just don't get Spanish. It doesn't make any sense. And I can't formulate even, what can I say?
I've had, I think I'm on my 10th hour of Spanish before my trip to Latin America next year. And, you know, Europeans have the A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. And I'm really happy because I'm at the middle of A1 in 10 hours of Spanish. And I mean, I can speak a little bit, you know? I can make
Hola. ¿Cómo estás?
Muy bien, ¿y tú?
Gone. I'm dead there. That's it.
Yes, romance languages, Kelly.
Mi amo? Is it mi amo?
No, that's Italian.
So mi amo is Chris is Italian, not Spanish.
Oui, me llamo Cynthia. Te llamas Chris.
Te llamo. You'd say te llamo though, because it's masculine. Is that not a word that's flipped?
No. It's a conjugation. When you're saying it, me llamo Cynthia. Te llamas Chris.
Oh right, okay. So Kelly's just written the llama Chris.
The llama Chris.
Llama.
Talama. Talama. Bonjour, je suis.
So bad.
Oh my God.
All right, Jenna. Dream project. What would you love to work on if you could choose out of any project? What would you love to work on?
from existing project like that's done before, I always thought about wanting to be part of a team where I can build a Bugs Land bench. Like, I don't know if you guys like are familiar with like a Bugs Land, like in Disneyland. There is like a bench
the
that is
Bugs Life bench in the 4D theater.
No, it's like outside, like in the the Bugs Land area. So like this bench is like for human size, but like everything is in that scenic is like made out of trash or things like a small object. So for example, like this bench is made out of popsicle sticks, but like for our human scale. Because like once you enter this Bugs Land, you are seeing everything from Bugs' point of view. So I just
they took Bugs Land out, didn't they?
In Disneyland Anaheim, they did. It is gone now. It is like a Sparks Industry is on construction right now. But like those benches, like or the Bugs Theater is still exists in Florida. I heard like in the Animal Kingdom. Yeah. I don't know if they do have the exact bench that I'm talking about, but that is just like kind of the idea of a project I want to work on, you know, like something permanent, but still like telling it's like everyday object that you will see in theme park, but an object that tells a story. So not just a bench, but a bench that tells a story, and like wanting to work with the designer and the team creating that like as a bridge.
That's like a technical. Sorry, Cynthia.
Go ahead, Chris.
I would say so. That's like a very technically and very specific answer. So now do it creatively, and just go any IP, anything in that you can possibly imagine. What would be a really cool thing to work on?
So in the theme park, I've been mostly working on still like the seasonal events side, nothing permanent. So not like as an ultimate project, but eventually I want to work on some permanent attraction, like to experience like what it takes to get those permanent projects done. Because like seasonal events, like since those are temporary, I see a lot of similarities between those projects and theater projects that I worked before. But like for a permanent project, I wonder like if how strict the safety regulation would be, or like a process, like I mean, is any process will be different. So that's something I haven't experienced yet, but wanting to try in the future. Because like the ultimate, like what I would like to get out of that is, you know, 20 years later when my nephew is like 20 years old, because like he's newborn, that I can take him to the theme park and say, this is like your auntie made, 10 years ago. Unfortunately, like all the seasonal events that I worked on so far, since it's temporary, like it's gone eventually, like after 6 months of operation. So like my dream project, still TBD. I don't know what it's gonna be, but I want to build, like work on something. I want to experience
foreshadowed it though. You've already foreshadowed it, because you've already said that like learning experiences and just do things. It's going to be something that fits uniquely your talents, and you'll be of course it is. At the moment that it comes up, you're like, yes, this is where I was going all along.
So yeah, like there's like no set destination at this point. I'm like, so to answer your question, what is my dream project? I don't know what it's gonna be exactly. I don't even know where I'm gonna be, but I want to experience like those like a little different thing and make my path the way.
So on the note then of like to be decided, if you could change something about the industry, like what would that be, or what do you think the industry like lacks?
Having a reasonable expectation. Like
develop.
So in the past, like I worked with some designers, producers, like group of people who have like a really big, giant, like a big vision, and like be really stubborn and like not giving any of those up. And it's been like really challenging as a tech person or, person like who tried to meet the reality and like dream together. It's like really like hard to work with those kind of people. So I'm hoping, and if I can be helpful to help them like communicating as well, that have like a reasonable expectation like for the timeline and budget, so we all achieve what we want, like with the maximum result, rather than just being stubborn and not willing to give up, and like we are just like running out of time, and like it becomes like nothing, and like eventually costs more, takes longer, all that.
Yeah.
So
I think it really is. Again, it's two cultures that are speaking to each other and are not speaking the same language, and we talk a lot about cross-cultural communication between Americans and Europeans and Asians and Jesus, even within those regions, Koreans speaking with the Japanese and Chinese. Those are three totally different cultures. And they also need to communicate. And in the US, you take someone from Texas, you take someone from New York, and from LA, there are another three different cultures. And even within an industry, you'll have the creative culture and the technical culture. And learning to really communicate across our cultures is I think it's like, for me, it's the challenge of the 21st century, to learn to be empathic, and really try and understand the other person's point of view, and not being walled up in our own thinking and our own culture, and whether our culture is a work culture or a people's culture. I don't know how else to say that.
We've had the conversations before on Unsung Heroes, and saying things like, well, I want to see like where like Disney or Universal rides and attractions aren't appropriate for the culture, so they are changed to fit the culture that the park is going into. Now, I'd like to see that version of the ride in the States, or if they ever built one in Europe, which they will never do because we're all very, very boring, apparently, according to them. We have to go to one side of the world or the other. But like to be able to go and experience a different kind of ride that's a different story told in a completely different way than I'm used to, so that I can at least have a slight introduction to that culture. I mean, that's what Epcot in the 21st and 22nd century should be as a park. It shouldn't be sort of fantastical and let's just have some typical Mexican comments. I mean, they need to keep the bars and keep the margaritas and tequila. That's fine, but like, let's get rid of the parrot. Although it's one of my favorite rides in Epcot, that little water ride. I come off wetter than I do off of Splash Mountain because there's always a water fight in my boat. But something that just like is a bit more culturally specific, and tell me like not the story of your country, because that seems a bit bland and generalistic, but something that's specific and like a core value of the culture. And I think the Chinese pavilion in Epcot is so dated that it doesn't really make the point anymore. I'm sure it was when it was put in, and it was lovely when it was put in, but it needs a change. And there's so many of them around there that need changing. Leave Britain alone. That's about right. There's a pub, there's a band playing, and everyone's drunk. By the time they get round to that part of the park, that's fine. Just some more like, I know, stories told differently. I've got this. I've had this thing for a couple of years now. Wouldn't it be great if we had one basic story that was very simple? I don't know, like I'm using like a Western nursery rhyme or something, and then tell that in different ways. So tell that in sign language, tell that in audio descriptive, tell that in like how it would be told in sort of out in the middle of nowhere in Africa, like in all of the different cultures and all of the different ways of communicating. How many times can we tell a story? Because I think that would be engaging to like until you got bored, and it's like I don't know where that line would be, but I think it'd be fantastic.
Jenna, before we get to our last serious question, you talked a little bit about the temporary projects that you've worked on, and there is one that we did not really talk about, and that is a huge project. And we've got a couple of pictures. So do you want to present that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, there we are.
So yeah, that's the Lunar New Year project, like at Universal Studios Hollywood. So just something I want to mention is like, so the name of the event was called Lunar New Year. It may not sound very familiar with like to someone because like often it's called as Chinese New Year, but I just really appreciate when I was working on the project, since like the Chinese New Year is celebrated by like many other Asian countries as well. Like I appreciate like that they call it as like a Lunar New Year. So it's a hemisphere like an event. So like it had like we put the wishing tree and like the Chinese like the red lantern, paper lantern, like in the plaza area to celebrate the Lunar New Year, like with like of some Asian culture like aspect of it. So we had some like a Chinese food in there, or like the big and popular like IP there, like a Kung Fu Panda because it's Lunar New Year. Like you could take pictures with it, or like there was a puppet, Mr. Ping, the Kung Fu Panda, like his father, like a puppet, like where guests can interact with them, like with Mr. Ping, and take pictures as well. So, yeah, that was a fun project. And we had a Megatron speaking Mandarin, like right outside the gate to celebrate Lunar New Year as well.
It's beautiful. I mean, I like how I think that is something that I do appreciate with the States. It's so culturally diverse, and we do try and celebrate the different cultures that we have in our country, and I mean, we're not going to get into this because my God, the show wouldn't be over. But it's there's so much more to do, but there's I think it's neat. I mean, in France, there's of course in Paris, there's the 13th arrondissement that is the Asian arrondissement, and yeah, they'll celebrate the Lunar New Year, but no one celebrates it anywhere else, and I miss that cultural diversity that we do have in the US. It's yeah, I miss that.
Yeah, so yeah, like there and like I appreciate like they don't, the US culture try to be more inclusive of like diverse cultures. So if say like a project that they did like 20 years ago are not really up to date or not really appropriate like in modern days, things are getting changed. So like it's like really nice about like understanding the diversity. I really appreciate that in the US.
All right, so last serious question, Jenna, is who is your unsung hero?
My unsung hero would be my instructor and mentor of whole this technical design and production management, Ben Semler. So he's an instructor like who created pretty much like held the department together for my grad school, like for over 40 years, I believe. And he's been producing like many technical designer and director production managers during the time. And like we briefly mentioned earlier, that the designers, more creative side, may get to be on the front side, like a front page of a brochure, but like tech people like don't like usually are on the like under staff list. But regardless, like all that, he, you know, even though people may not really notice the technical people, but he's been producing and training people, potential like a future technical directors and production managers who would work on this like entertainment industry. And like thanks to his lessons, we are all working in the entertainment field, not only in theater, but theme park or rock concert, like, or themed entertainment, like all over the world. So like, I want to just do a little shout out to Ben.
Cool. Wonderful. That's good. I love hearing about unsung heroes. It gives me chills. You gave me chills.
They're multiplying.
And I'm losing control. All right, stop.
Power.
No. Fun
Questions. My favorite bit.
All right, Jenna. Fun questions are quick response. Don't think about it too much, but think about it a little bit. And especially have fun. Have fun. Go
from
go
6,
for it, Chris.
Cynthia. Go from number 6, and you do the quick draw ones from there.
Okay. All right, ready? Apples or oranges?
Oh, orange.
Apples. You can put peanut butter on apples.
You can't put peanut butter on apples.
That is true, though.
Thank you, Jenna. Thank you, Jenna.
No.
Well,
No. Chocolate or vanilla? Get rid of this. Chocolate or vanilla?
All right, Jenna. Chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla.
Go on.
It's a classic, you know, like it just goes with everything. Like, or you can have vanilla with brownie. So, like, imagine like vanilla ice cream, like a la mode, like on brownie. So,
with Hershey's chocolate sauce over.
No, Hershey's is an insult to the whole entire planet.
Not Hershey's chocolate sauce. The Hershey's
yeah, like
Kiss,
make a milk.
Yeah, they aren't very good. But the chocolate sauce, that's yummy.
I love it when it's in the milk form, but yeah.
Carry on, Cynthia. Yeah. Crack on.
All right. Best sandwich.
Oh, whatchamacallit? The shredded meat with the sauerkraut on it. Guess. Ruben. Yes.
Ruben.
Thank you.
Oh my God,
Ruben
that's mine. I was like, what? I don't know. It's my favorite sandwich too. Just saying.
I love it, like especially like when it is actually like toasted, you know, like
super thick.
Yeah.
Crust.
Yeah.
I like it.
Can we have a
when
rule?
you bite?
Can we have because there is one thing that I have like with one thing that I have a massive issue with in American food culture. It's the term grilled cheese. Because that is halloumi. That is not a grilled cheese sandwich. That is not a cheese toasty. That is a grilled cheese, apparently. A grilled cheese is just cheese that is grilled. So if anyone answers the best sandwich and they say a grilled cheese, can we just, like the off-menu podcast that I love in the UK, can we just kick them out of our fantasy restaurant if they say that? Because that's wrong.
No, grilled cheese is super good.
Yes, it is, but it's not grilled cheese, is it? There's bread in
grilled
there.
cheese sandwich.
Then call
Yeah,
it a
you
sandwich.
do. You put it between bread and you grill it.
Then it's a sandwich.
Grilled
Isn't
cheese
it?
No,
sandwich.
you grill the sandwich.
No, but then it's like, I'm gonna go make a grilled cheese. Are you? Are you really? You're gonna make a grilled cheese? A grilled cheese is some halloumi.
Stop imitating Americans that talk with their noses. All right, okay? Because I mean. All right, next fun question.
Bring it.
One thing that you own that you should really throw out.
Oh, no, I love my possession. I don't want to give up anything. No, really can't. Like, that's really tough. I mean, like, I don't know. I carry like a door, like all the way from the States to Japan. So
You threw out the
no,
rest of the box already.
that park is. So I already like me kept only the essential. So no, there's like nothing I can't throw away. No.
All right. What do you think happens when we die?
Resurrect? I don't know. Like a comeback, like have a second life at something. Like
As a
rock?
human or as like a beaver?
Well, it doesn't have to be human, I guess.
What would you like to come back as if you could choose?
If I can choose a cat, like a cat in a rich family, is what I want.
So you can walk around all their fancy possessions and just be like looking at it on the counter and be like, and fuck you.
Exactly. So I mean, I love cat. I'd love to live as a cat, but with a little condition. I wish like I'm a house cat. Wild cat, my life might be a little too tough.
Our production team are having a little chat in the private chat here. So Chris has given only two options, human or beaver. I'd take beaver because I don't want conscious thought ever again.
Yeah, there would be too many shower thoughts. Too many shower thoughts. All right. Your favorite smell?
Dunkin' Donut at 5 a.m. And I don't even like Dunkin' Donut. I just like the smell of it. In a chill morning.
That's a fantastic
Oh my God, I love these. Least favorite smell?
Like my shower, it smells like sewer. I can't get rid of it.
I love these questions. What song would you choose if you had to listen to it for the rest of your life?
Rest of my life. Tough. Ugh. Can't take my eyes off you from Elvis Presley. I don't know. I don't know if I want to actually hear that for the rest of my life, but that is just the first song that popped in my head. So I'll go with that.
That's cool. And the last quick question, describe the rest of your life in 5 words or less.
My life.
Your life.
She tried. Like, just to the question, like I was thinking, what would be carved on my stone, like that's kind of the image I had, how would I describe my life in less than 5 words? So I would say I tried to do good. So
I tried to do good. Okay. There we are. That's a beautiful thing to say, put on your epitaph. It is. I tried to do good. I think if everyone could put that legitimately on their epitaph, the world would be a much better place. All right, Chris, on to you for the fun question.
I tried to be kind. I just failed miserably at it. So I have a hypothetical question for you. So you've got to convince the world that you're Banksy.
I am Banksy.
You're Banksy, the artist,
Okay.
the street artist. How do you do it?
I'll show my sketches. I don't know, because it is not, I don't know. Like, do you usually think about that? I never think about
I mean,
how to answer. How
there's
to
got to
convince
be
myself
be
Banksy.
ways. Because I would just turn up to a random place in the world with a big stencil and just be like, oh, and a big black can of spray paint and a red one or something, and just be like, oh, got caught.
Whoopsie.
Yeah.
Oh, darn.
Wouldn't it be funny if Banksy was actually like a member of the British royal family?
Rebel.
That'd just be random. I'd love it. Just like Jack the Ripper was supposed to be the Queen's surgeon or something like that.
Oh.
I can't remember what that one was. There was a thing. Anyway, it's Andrew. No, it's not Andrew. He should be shot. So anyway.
Next question.
If you were on the game show, Jenna, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and you could have anyone on the planet, alive or dead, as your phone a friend, who would you pick?
Stephen Hawking?
That's cheating because he uses a computer.
You can say like I could pick anyone.
Yeah.
I don't know. I tried to pick like someone smarter than me, and like, I think he's like way smarter than me. So
that shows how smart you are and how smart you think you are. The only person I can think of that's smarter than me is Stephen Hawking.
No, because like I want the $1 million.
Dollar. I would still take pounds.
Oh,
slightly more money.
Or pounds. I guess that'd be even more than euro too. So yeah.
Goodness, next one.
Oh, I don't know which one to pick. If you had to be stuck in a TV show for a month, which one would you pick, and what character would you be?
Tom and Jerry, and I want to be like Jerry's cousin, the baby one, like who just like is careless. And like all he does is shame,
Monsieur Pussycat.
I love that answer.
That
sounds like pretty
way
good
out
life.
of left field for me. I did not see that coming at all.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I love that one.
Now I realize I just answered to be a mouse, even though like what I want to be when I, come back to this life is a cat earlier. I don't know. But like some kind of lazy life, I guess, is like what I'm going for if I'm gonna be stuck for a month.
Oh my goodness, go for it, Chris.
Okay, we'll just do the last two and wrap up. Because this is Unsung Heroes, Jenna, if you could have a superpower, what would it be and why?
It's not a funny question because like I actually have thought about it and wanted to travel anywhere like in a second, because so I've been living all over the world, all over the places like in the past 10 years. So I thought, if I can just open the door and get somewhere, I want to commute to my work in the States from my Japan apartment or something like that. So like I don't have to really pack up and move every year then, because I can go anywhere.
It works. It's a good answer. Yes, David, you are definitely right.
I agree. These are
Sorry,
fun
all other
answers.
guests that have been on that might be watching, but David has spoken.
All right, last question.
Right, Jenna, if you have to wear a hat for the rest of your life, and you can never explain why you're wearing the hat. You just have to be wearing it at all times. And you get the choice of big hat or little hat. Which one do you choose?
Big hat. That will make my face look smaller and have a better proportion because I'm short.
It will make you tall. Certainly make you tall. I can't wear
that
the. I mean,
too.
my head's too big for the big hat, and it just sort of sits on the top. And also, it would mean that I'm much, much taller than a door.
I never had that
go
problem,
through,
so.
We are going to have to go through all of our guests when we do our little Christmassy highlight reel of all of the answers of Big Hat, Little Hat, because I don't know what the tally is.
Oh, a lot more have chosen Big Hat.
I thought the Little Hat started off strong really early, and more people in time have gone Big Hat. Kelly, I'm sure it's not 11-0. I'm sure it's not.
Really biased.
I don't know.
Result.
Maybe I need to get a new little hat that just changes it.
Maybe. I don't know.
I just thought I was pretty sure Justin picked this one. Did he not?
I don't know. I did. I chose that one. So
did I.
Personally. Jenna, thank you so much. This marks the end of the show. Thank you really for being our unsung hero this week. You were a wonderful guest. I hope that everyone watching enjoyed you as much as we enjoyed speaking with you. There you go. Thank you, Jenna.
No, thank you for having me. It was fun.
Well, yeah, it is. We enjoy having our friends. So our friends that are watching, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow
and lightly fondle.
Whatever you want to do with the buttons. TETV, Unsung Heroes. Yes, there we go.
We're doing this.
And that way you'll get to know whatever show's going on. And that's it for today. Do not forget to go make the world a better place and go hug a hero.